Good morning, everyone. We are at Tiger Crossroads. We're gonna get started in just a second once some more folks tune in. So for now, I'm just gonna give you a quick pan around. If you've been to the zoo in the past year, you've probably seen this exhibit. Lots of cool architecture over here and cool animals too. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with Jawnie. Jawnie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Jawnie and I'm a zookeeper here at the zoo, and I work in the behavioral husbandry department, so I actually get to take animals off grounds and educate people about them. But today we are at the Tiger Crossroads, which is one of our newer exhibits here at the zoo, and it just opened last spring. So if you guys haven't been able to see it, hopefully you guys can come whenever we open and see it in all its beauty. It's a really beautiful new exhibit that we have here at the zoo.
Can I walk backwards? Probably not. That was a poor life choice. It's a little dark in here, so I might trip. So this exhibit has like a ton of amazing educational graphics and is just beautiful inside. And it looks like Frances already beat us down here.
Yeah, she beat us. And this is Melissa over here, one of Frances's keepers.
It's a little dark, so hopefully you guys can see okay, but we're gonna get you a good look at Frances.
She is beautiful.
Hi.
She said hi.
So Melissa, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on here?
Sure, yeah. So this is Frances. She is one of our two Sumatran tigers. She is here along with her sister Huntley. But even though they're sisters, they don't actually like each other. Once tigers are fully grown, mature adults, they are solitary. So they want to live alone and have their own space. So you won't ever see these two girls together hanging out. But they both call the Nashville Zoo their home. Frances here is 6 years old. She just had a birthday in May. And she has been here for the last 2 years. Just a little bit before we actually opened our exhibit, she came here.
How long can they live here versus in the wild?
Good question. So tigers are fantastic predators. They're really good at their job out in the wild catching prey. But just because they are top predators doesn't mean that they have really great lives. They're facing a lot of threats in the wild, poaching, habitat loss, all sorts of stuff. So in the wild, they typically can live around like 10 to 12 years is pretty average. Sometimes males especially are a little bit more aggressive, so they might be a little bit less. But then under human care, they can live well into their late teens and early to mid-20s. So that's just kind of goes to show what happens when you're able to provide them a valuable, kind of consistent food source, great nutrition, 24/7 vet care, you name it, we're there for them to spoil them and keep them happy and healthy.
Living the life. And I know, so she's 6 years old, so she's full grown. With other species of tigers, where do they fall within like size compared to other tigers?
Yeah, so she's full grown, but if you've seen tigers at other zoos, she may not look that big. So full grown Sumatran females are typically right around 200 pounds. Males will get a little bit bigger, maybe closer to like 250, maybe 300 pounds. But that's really as large as they're going to get. So they're actually considered one of the smallest subspecies of tigers. Malayan tigers are also another subspecies that's pretty small, so they kind of overlap a little bit. But that makes sense because these two subspecies of tigers are found on islands. So a lot of times island species are a lot more limited in the resources that they have, so they just can't get as big, so they stay nice and small.
And these guys are critically endangered, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So again, living on an island, their threats that are against them kind of compound and become even more of a problem for them. So there are estimated to be less than 400 left in the wild. So they are definitely critically endangered, which is one of the reasons why we're so excited to have them here, is so that we can help raise awareness of them, educate our public on this particular subspecies. Tigers, just in general, are really important. We love them, but this is a subspecies that definitely needs our help a lot.
Yeah, so one of the easiest things that anyone can do is just come into the zoo to see them, because like Melissa mentioned, just learning about animals helps them. bringing awareness to them. But also when you come to the zoo and you buy a ticket or a membership, part of the proceeds goes to conservation projects to save animals like Frances out in the wild, to save her wild cousins.
Yeah, here at the Nashville Zoo, we support a lot of different conservation efforts. One of the main conservation efforts when it comes to tiger is the Tiger Conservation Campaign. It's actually spearheaded by the Minnesota Zoo, but we do a lot of financial contributions for them as well. And they support a whole host of different conservation programs out in the wild, in their natural habitat, helping to educate the local populations on how important that they are, and also do patrols to look for snares, helping look out for poachers, stuff like that. So they're doing a lot of the on-the-ground work, making sure that we keep tigers safe in their habitat, which is really not safe for them right now.
Right. It's very important. And so earlier you were talking about how she's a predator and she loves to eat meat. She's a carnivore. How does her diet differ here between here and the zoo? And how much food does she get here?
Right, yeah. So we try to mimic their natural diet as much as possible. Obviously, we can't get them exactly what they're going to be getting in the wild. In the wild, they're going to be eating and hunting like medium-sized prey, so like hogs, deer, stuff like that. You're really not going to see them go after larger things like water buffalo or elephants very often, although they can do it if they're really kind of really desperate.
Depends on the motivation.
They're definitely formidable. But we still try to give them as much of a varied kind of protein sources as possible. So they get kind of a base diet, and then we'll kind of cycle through every single day. They'll get a different type of whole prey item. So they're getting poultry, they're getting red meat, they're getting white meat, you name it. They're going to get all sorts of fun stuff. So the amount that they eat also will kind of vary. So the exact amount that they get every day differs. The timing that they get that food differs. In the wild, they never know when they're going to get their next meal, so we don't want them to know exactly when they're going to be getting their food, get in a habit of kind of expecting it at any one time. So we try to keep that varied as well. We still feed them every single day. It helps with us for training and just for reliability, coming inside and moving when we want them to. So they get fed every day, and it's usually averages, depending on the individual, it can be anywhere from like 4 to 8 pounds of meat typically.
That's a lot.
And males, obviously larger males, will eat a little bit more. In the wild though, they are known as what's called gorge and fast predators. So they're going to go after, they're going to catch something really yummy to eat, and that's actually going to be able to sustain them for a couple days at a time. So they're not going to be eating a full meal every single day. They're going to eat a bunch, and then they're going to kind of relax and digest that meal for like 3 days, and then they'll find something else.
That's so impressive. If only we could do that. Eat 8 pounds of food at one time, and then just not eat for a couple days.
But actually, it sounds horrible. I love food.
Thanksgiving might be a little bit more fun. Eat all of the things, and then wait a couple days.
Yeah.
I feel like now it might be a good time to talk about her camouflage. So I know when you were recording her walking by with all those stripes, like a lot of people are like, how's the orange cat going to camouflage? But she's demonstrating that. Do you want to talk about that, Melissa?
Yeah, it sounds crazy. Like you said, yeah, an orange cat, an orange and black cat, you wouldn't think is going to be able to disappear into green grass, right? There is some variation on like the habitat that different tiger subspecies will live in. So some will be much more jungle, some will be kind of more tundra area, like the like Siberian tigers. And their coat is actually going to reflect that. It's going to be less kind of vibrant. But even then, you can kind of see when there are shady patches, when there's that dappled sun coming down through leaves, it actually plays some really kind of cool tricks on the foliage around them and on their own coat. So yeah, orange and black stripes don't seem like they would be great camouflage, but somehow it works. Somehow they are able to disappear in their surroundings really, really well.
Yeah, if I, like right now I'm zoomed out and like you can't see her. Like, where is she?
Where's Waldo?
It takes me a second to realize, oh, I need to zoom in right there.
Well, it's funny too, because people will come, guests will come when the zoo is open. She's still a cat, so they do still sleep like 18 to 20 hours a day. They're not super active, as you can see. She's coming out, she's just hanging out. So a lot of times people will come out and they'll do a quick look. They want to see a tiger that's moving around and being active, and it's like, wait, no, you gotta be a little bit more slow. You gotta be really deliberate in where you're looking, and then you'll be able to find her.
Yeah. Are there any tricks for guests to be able to find her in the exhibit?
I mean, one of the biggest things is especially those little white cheek tufts are always going to poke out around her cheeks. When she is laying down, she usually has her head up, unless she's completely passed out and then she's like totally horizontal on the grass, and that can be hard. But usually even resting, they're not completely asleep. They still want to kind of keep their head on a swivel and keep
an eye on what's going on.
So she'll almost always have her head up. So if she's turned away from you, you want to look for those little white eye spots on the back of her ears. And if she's facing towards you or to the side, a lot of times you'll see those white little cheek mutton chops.
Have you noticed that she's like active during certain parts of the day? Like, would it be best for guests to like come straight here in the AM when they first get here and the zoo opens, or like later right before the zoo closes?
It definitely depends on the weather.
Okay.
So if you have like a day where you know it's going to be like really hot, and then maybe we're supposed to have a storm mid-morning or early afternoon or something, it's supposed to cool down, chances are she's going to be a lot more active later in the afternoon. They want to conserve energy. They don't like heat any more than we do, even though she's a tropical cat. Her species is from Indonesia. They still don't like the heat, and they're going to spend a lot of time trying to stay cool in the shade. So definitely keep in mind the weather, the temperature, what's going on. So cooler temperatures, cloudier days is when she's going to be more active. Timing, just in general, she tends to be more active, like first thing in the morning when she first gets out, first wakes up and starts kind of checking out what we've put out on the exhibit for her. And then, later in the afternoon, again, when it starts to cool down, but she's expecting usually a little bit more attention from us at that point too. So there's a better chance that she'll be active. If you can't get here right in the morning, try later in the afternoon, and a lot of times she'll be up and moving around.
And kind of to veer off, we talked about food and stuff. I know she probably gets special treats. We have one that we were hoping she would come play with over here, but she hasn't. What is in this massive ice block?
So again, with the heat, we try to help them cool off as much as possible. So what we gave her this morning is a big old ice block. So in that ice block is a mixture of some goat's milk and also some ground meat. Sometimes we'll also like freeze blood from our diets that gets left over. Yeah, bloodsickles. We like popsicles, they like bloodsickles. So those are just fun treats that they get for training, just special fun times. Actually things that they super enjoy. And again, if they find goat's milk, which already they really, really like, if it's frozen, that's gonna help cool her down too. But you can see she's finding a lot more value in hanging out in the shade over there than walking all the way over here to take a lick off the ice block.
And you had mentioned that she might get something like this for training. What kind of training do you guys do with Frances and her sister?
Right, so we try to do a whole host of different trainings for all of our animals. It's all geared towards what we call husbandry behaviors, so behaviors that we're able to do with them that helps us keep an eye on their body condition, check out any injuries, administer medication, stuff like that. So we have our tigers trained to come over, stand up on their hind legs so we can see their bellies. They'll hold up their paws along the meshing so we can see their paw pads. We currently have both of them training to receive voluntary injections. So even just for your annual vaccines, because these guys need those vaccines just like your pets at home, we're able to have them come over and just kind of press their hip up against the mesh so we can kind of just poke them with a needle instead of having to dart them or do them something scary or something more involved. We're able to do it a lot easier. These girls aren't quite there yet, but one thing that we'd also love to do is be able to train them for like voluntary blood draws. So we're able to take blood from their tail, run any kind of diagnostic test in case they're sick. We can do that too without having to fully knock them down and anesthetize them and stress them out.
Yeah, a lot less stress.
Yeah.
If you can train them to participate in things like that.
Exactly.
How long have you been working with them for the full 2 years that they've been here?
Yes. Yeah. So I've been here. I was one of the people that went and picked them up. They
fun.
were born at the Topeka Zoo in Kansas, but before they came here, we weren't quite ready for them since we were still in the middle of construction. So the Knoxville Zoo actually was gracious enough to hold on to them for us for just about a year. Which also made the drive for us a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
So myself and my supervisor drove over to the Knoxville Zoo to pick them up and brought them over when we were finally ready for them. Fun fact though is I actually, even before I worked with these guys, I met them when they were still cubs. Before I was even working at this facility, I was working at another facility and we were doing kind of a work swap. And I got to meet them when they were cubs at Topeka. So
that's so special.
I've known these girls since they were tiny little babies.
That's awesome. What's your favorite thing about working with them?
I mean, they're completely different cats. I mean, we say that about so many of our animals, that they have completely different personalities. Our two tigers especially, I just love the fact that they, you know, they've had the exact same upbringing, they've had the same pretty much life experiences. They are two completely different cats. So Frances here is a lot more kind of social. She'll come over, check out guests at the window. She likes to sleep in that corner right over there. She doesn't care when people are totally crowded around the windows taking pictures of her. She loves it. She loves the attention. Mm-hmm. Her sister Huntley, on the other hand, does not like the attention. So she likes kind of her space. She likes doing her own thing. She likes kind of finding little hidden areas. She's a lot more of like, I'm gonna be a tiger. I don't need to hang out with you. I'm just gonna do my own thing. So totally different reactions to people, which I love when you can see those super parent just personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've gotten a lot of questions that have come in, and I'm gonna kind of walk through some of those now, if that's okay, Melissa. Let's see. So I saw one from Jean. She wanted to know, is there a pool for the tigers in their habitat? And they have this like water feature.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to see because they're actually cleaning it this morning, so they haven't quite turned it on yet. But you might be able to see kind of a rock formation to the right of where she's hanging out.
Right here.
It's a little bit dark down the center. So that's the start of a big old waterfall that falls
It goes
through the
down
exhibit.
this way.
It goes down, and then there's a giant pool at the bottom there, right past those rocks that you're looking at. So it's not a great view from where we're standing, but there's a gigantic pool at the bottom, and then there's also 3 separate wading pools within the stream as it makes its way down of varying depths, because sometimes they want to lay in water and only get their little toesies wet. Sometimes they want their whole bodies wet, so we want to make sure that they have different depths of water that they can hang out in.
Because these are water cats as
Yes.
opposed to other cats.
Yeah, these guys historically love water. They're great at swimming. They actually have a little bit more webbed toes, so they're actually really good at swimming. Our 2 girls like water. They're not super crazy about swimming. I've never seen them like really dunk themselves in water, but they do like hanging out. And again, in the summer, it's really valuable just to help them keep cool. They'll hang out in the water a lot. Frances especially loves to drag any toys that we give her into the water. So if you come here on any like special enrichment push days, if we have like decorated cardboard boxes, you name it, whatever we give her, more often than not, by the end of the day, everything has ended up in the water.
Well, at least she plays with them, I guess.
Yeah, I can't be mad. She likes it.
That's good. Let's see. Brody wants to know, do tigers prefer to be alone, or do they like having other animals around? And you touched on this a little bit. Can you go back?
Yeah. It's all, I mean, individual personalities, right? So a lot of tigers, when they're raised and live in human care, they can adapt, right? Because in the wild, they want to be solitary. They're very territorial cats. There's limited food sources. There's limited space for them. So they are going to find a territory, and they're going to try to defend it and maintain it as much as possible, because if another tiger comes in, that means less food for them, right? So in the wild, you're never really going to see any tigers hanging out with each other unless it's like a male and a female that are coming together for breeding. The pheromones are right, love is in the air. Or if it's a female with cubs. So cubs will stay with their mom for about 2 years. By that time, they're pretty full grown, so they can look like some adult tigers hanging out with each other. More often than not, it's going to be a female with her cubs. But otherwise, once they're past really 2 years old, she's going to kick them out of that territory. They're now competition for her. Mm-hmm. So they are very much solitary in the wild. Again, though, under human care, they don't have those same kind of stresses in their life. So they will learn that, oh, I don't actually have to put a whole lot of effort into the food I'm going to get. I know I'm going to get fed. Maybe I can live with you. Maybe you're not a threat to me. So some cats can live to learn together harmoniously. It's always something that we want to really keep an eye on with tigers, especially because they can be so aggressive and they have such large teeth and really great bite pressure. If they suddenly decide they don't like each other, they can really severely injure each other and sometimes kill each other. So when Frances and Huntley first moved here, they actually were still living together. They were young enough. They had just barely turned 4, so they're still young adults. And they still liked each other for the most part, but we actually noticed just within a couple months that their tolerance for each other was going down. So they're just getting in more scraps and kind of messing with each other. They weren't appreciating each other being in each other's space. So then we made the decision to separate them, and they have been super happy with that arrangement ever since. So yeah, it's just, you always want to look at the animals. The animals will tell you what they need, what they want, and we do what they need.
That's kind of a good transition to another question I saw from Camille. She wants to know, do you guys actually interact with these cats?
Never in the same space. So even though these guys are from a long line of tigers that have been born in the US, they've been around people their whole lives, they're still very much wild animals, as cute and cuddly as they can look and as docile as they might look, especially when she's asleep by the window and she looks super, super calm.
Yeah, she looks so sweet.
Yeah, she is very much a tiger, and we are never going to trust them that they won't suddenly change their mind and not like us. So I always like to kind of compare it, if you have a cat at home or if you know other domestic house cats, they can be kind of finicky when it comes to their personalities and how they feel towards us, right? So sometimes they can be loving the attention, and then maybe you just pet them one too many times, or you touch just the wrong spot, and they're going to turn around, they're going to slash at you, or they're going to bite you. Same kind of personality fluxes with these guys, but if you imagine a tiger suddenly changing its mind and not wanting you to be in that space, is going to be a lot more detrimental to your health than your pet at home.
Yep.
So we're never going to put ourselves in that kind of position where we would risk harm to ourselves or them, because we don't want them to get injured needlessly.
Melissa, I've seen a lot of questions about if we plan to breed these guys, or are those things we're thinking about at this point?
Yes. Yeah, so that was one of the main goals for refurbishing this whole area and opening up this new exhibit, focusing on Sumatran tigers that are critically endangered and need our help. So these girls were brought here under a recommendation from the SSP of tigers, which is the Species Survival Plan for Tigers. That's the kind of cooperative group at facilities across the entire U.S. That keep track of every single individual of the species of animals and makes recommendations on which genetics would be great with which individual should hopefully breed, when we should breed, because you never just want to breed animals needlessly. You want to make sure that there's purpose for it, that there's homes for the cubs that are produced. So they were brought here. We still don't have a male yet, but we're hoping to get a male in the future that we can start breeding these guys with. And the reason that we breed tigers in captivity is that we want to make sure that we want to have a really healthy captive population that is able to work as a reservoir population where we can do research on them, we can do behavioral research, nutritional research, try to learn as much about these guys as possible, where our work out in the field, out in their actual habitat in the wild, will be the most effective to help them. If we can know as much about them here under human care, we'll be able to help them that much more effectively in the wild. And if needed, we'll be able to take genetics from our captive populations and be able to supplement our wild populations with that.
Awesome. That's a good transition as well. You're like walking me through these questions, Melissa. Owen, age 6, wants to know how many tigers are in the world.
That's a great question. So tiger species or subspecies are different varying levels of kind of endangerment, threatened, you name it. So like we kind of mentioned before, Sumatran tigers are critically endangered. They have one of the lowest populations out in the wild. Some other tigers, like Bengal tigers, are actually doing really well. They're, the governments of the countries that they live in have kind of made it a point to do a little bit better protections of them. So it kind of depends population-wise how they're doing. It depends on where you're looking. And we actually do have a decent population of cats that do live under human care. I actually am not aware of the exact number that we have in the entire world. But yeah, I think it's close to around 4,000 is the estimate.
Now, I feel like at some point, Melissa said that there were just a few hundred of the Sumatran tigers. Is that still correct?
Correct, yeah. I think the official estimate has dropped to around 300. But again, they live in a country where it's hard to find them. They're solitary, right? So getting those exact numbers on their populations can be difficult, which also makes that kind of financial conservation support that we're able to offer to those on the ground rangers really important, because they're the ones that are going to need the resources to do those surveys, to check camera tracks, to be able to get that information for us.
Awesome. Mona's wondering if they have, if we have baby tigers in the future, will the two adults have to be separated? So I guess that's kind of leading to, do we keep a breeding pair together, not during breeding season?
Right. So typically, if we do have a male and a male and female like each other, we still will never leave them together for a prolonged period of time. So even if they come together, even if they breed successfully and they like each other for that day, that doesn't mean that they're going to like each other tomorrow or even an hour from then. So whenever we do breeding, we have to be very careful that we're never forcing them to be in a smaller area together for a prolonged period of time, because that's when tensions rise. So yeah, the adults will never live permanently with another adult. Again, those cubs, if we do have any cubs that are born, will stay with their mom for at least 2 years until they're independent. And hopefully we'll be able to find homes. We'll already have an idea of where they're going to be able to go and help contribute to the SSP once they're old enough. But we are prepared with our new building that any cubs that are born here will be able to still house. Whether or not they will still tolerate living with each other, we'll be able to house them separately, depending on how they do.
And that's kind of typical for other carnivores too, right?
Yeah, especially when it comes to cats. Lions are really the only true social cat, so it makes it really nice management-wise, because as long as they like each other, you just keep them together. Any cubs that are born will stay with that pride, and you can kind of keep them there as long as space allows. Tigers, other solitary cats, leopards, you really can't do that. They just don't get along.
And did you say how many cubs they generally have on average?
No, but on average it's like 2 to 3. They can have like up to 6 at a time, sometimes just a single cub, but average is 2 to 3.
That's a really interesting question, Trina. Trina's wondering, how do you get them apart safely?
So fortunately, tigers are very food motivated. So unlike a lot of your cats at home that maybe aren't necessarily motivated by treats, tigers love meat. So if we need to separate them, a lot of times all we have to do is show them a big old part of their diet, and they're going to be able to separate and move apart. But also, tigers, they're defensive, they'll defend themselves, and if one is getting angry, a lot of times another one will back down, because by the point where we are putting 2 tigers together, we have an idea of how they're going to react to each other. They have an idea of how they're going to react to each other as well. So if we start kind of seeing tensions change, if we're starting to see a little bit more aggression, a lot of times all we'll have to do is open a door, and one of them is going to separate themselves from that situation.
Kathy, that's a really good question too. Where does Huntley, our other tiger who's off exhibit, stay?
Yeah, so we have some kind of unique setup. clever kind of building and setup and foliage. So if you can kind of see this bamboo patch here over to the left, so there is actually a building hidden behind that with all of their bedrooms inside, so that's where they'll go in at night. And there's another yard on the other side of that, a large kind of expanse, fenced-in area. That's where Huntley stays. So you just can't see her when she's not out here.
Very clever landscaping we have here, right? Oh my goodness. And this is a really good question for both of you. Matthew, age 5, wants to know how to become a tiger zookeeper or just a zookeeper in general.
Great question. So really start out with a great passion, and you're 5 years old and you already know what you want to do, so that's great. Most zookeepers have some kind of education degree. There's not really one set path that keepers take to get to keeper life. I personally have a bachelor's degree in biology. We have keepers that have degrees in like psychology even, because a lot of what we do is training and enrichment based, all sorts of different backgrounds. But the most important thing is just getting experience. So even before you're kind of at that point where you're even old enough to volunteer at a zoo, just working at like a humane society, walking dogs, just getting that like initial experience working with animals and understanding animal behavior is going to take you really far. But then also just once you are old enough to volunteer at a zoo, getting internships, getting hands-on experience at a zoo is incredibly valuable. Most zookeepers, I don't think I know a single zookeeper besides maybe like one or two, that haven't been employed in their first position before having multiple unpaid internships and moving around the country.
All around the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and the nice thing too is like before you really start working there and put in, you always want to put in a lot of effort no matter what you do, but if you have like even volunteer experience working with animals, then you can find out that maybe you like working with them, but maybe you don't like cleaning up after them. Or you want to educate people about them and you can still be a zoo educator, but you might not necessarily have to do whatever it is that maybe you've discovered that you do enjoy or do not enjoy. So like she gets to take care of the animals all the time and train them, and gets to come out here for keeper chats, so whenever the zoo opens back up. And then part of my job, because I work with animal ambassador animals, it's still a lot of cleaning and it's a lot of hard work and it's still a lot of training, but the other half of my job, rather than just doing like maybe a keeper chat every once in a while, is I go out and educate the public every single day. So it's a little bit more education oriented as well with the animals. So no matter what though, no matter what sort of animal thing you do, you will always be somewhat in the public eye and talking to people. But if this is your passion, then you're excited to teach people about the animals that you love so much, and hope that they care just as much as you do to help them in the wild.
Yeah. The reason we work with animals is because we love them. We want to save them in the wild. We can only do that with the public's help. So even, yeah, like I said, even me, who I don't spend a whole lot of time out in the public space, it's maybe an hour out of my day that I get to actually talk to the public, but I make every minute count. So I want people to know as much about my animals as possible so they can help save them too. Yeah.
Kind of a follow-up question from Andrea. Do zookeepers typically study one animal species or all animals? Do you specialize, etc.?
At least in terms of like the education aspect, I don't think many people specialize educationally. Usually you don't like major in carnivores. But that's actually like a really good thing because a lot of times you'll end up working with animals that you never thought about. So I was with tigers. A lot of people fall in love with tigers when they're younger. But one of my favorite animals that I loved working with and I wish that I could work with again are moose. So we don't see them very often. I never thought about them before until I worked with them, and now I'm obsessed with them. So you can kind of go into this field having an idea of what you want to do, but then as soon as you kind of get into like, a first internship where you're working with something that necessarily wasn't your dream animal, you can kind of work with them and be like, oh my gosh, these guys are so cool.
It's amazing because it opens your world. Like, I have always wanted to work in with animal ambassadors, but I feel like you think of the big animals like we have Fern the sloth and our bear cats and our clouded leopards. My favorite animal that I work with are opossums, which everyone's like, ew, opossum, but I'm obsessed with them and I think they're the best thing ever in the entire world. But they're they changed my life.
Segue. Tomorrow we'll be live with an opossum.
An opossum. You guys will get to see how much I love them.
Goodness. Okay. So question for both of you from Christina. What is your favorite species to work with? I think you just answered it, right? For you, opossum?
Long term, it's been opossum. Right now, it's the prehensile tail porcupine I work with right now. I'm currently obsessed with him.
Yeah. Mine, I have a top 10 that changes, but
of course you do.
But brown bears have always been right there at the top. I love brown bears. They're great.
Awesome. Let's see. Jacqueline's wondering, how can you become a volunteer at the zoo? Jacqueline, go to our website, nashvillezoo.org/volunteer, and there's some more information there. We're not accepting volunteers right now, but that's just due to COVID, so.
We'll get you.
Eventually. Let's see. So where is the tiger right now?
Good question. She is back behind the bamboo.
There's no way I'm going to be able to show you.
Yeah, I don't think so. So, like, if you might have remembered how I was saying that her sister is actually currently hidden behind that corner, sometimes they like to just go check each other out. So, she's most likely just past that bamboo, laying down, saying hi to her sister.
Yeah. I feel like when you're a zookeeper, even if you go to zoos a lot, you almost become like an expert. Like, what kind of camouflage does this animal have? Let me find it. And like, you can be really good at finding animals, but I've gone to zoos and cheetahs and tigers and looked for them, and then you're shocked because they're literally like 2 feet away from you, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. So let me just give you guys a good look at the exhibit. And Melissa, do you want to point out some of the like important features here for those of our friends that are just tuning in? We'll start left to right.
Yeah, sure. So we have some hidden things. Like I said, clever kind of buildings. So you can see kind of right in front of us now, we have some terracing. It was kind of built on a hill. So yeah, so you can see those rocks are different levels as we get higher up in elevation. Behind that second level of rocks is actually a water source. So she constantly has fresh filtered water. So even that stream system that we kind of pointed out before, even though the water wasn't running, that's not actually her primary source of drinking water. So we want to make sure that she has more of a contained, protected water source that doesn't get dirty. So,
Absolutely.
That's hidden back there as well. We have lots of different patches of bamboo everywhere, which would be a normal...
You can kind of see like 3 or 4 just from this vantage point.
Right, yeah. So they love bamboo. It's going to be a great shade structure. It's basically an evergreen. It'll be protected even in the winter, protected against wind, snow when we rarely have it.
Just trying to get snow.
And then we have plenty of trees throughout the exhibit as well. And logs, so she is going to want to be sharpening her claws just like any other cat, so she's able to stand up on those trees, really dig into the bark and
she
sharpen.
really loves this one over here, right?
Yes, yeah. So we have a giant tree, dead tree that's kind of laying across the stream over here. That she's so cute, just like your cat at home. She just comes over and like arches her back and does like this.
Thank you for that demonstration.
So she loves sharpening her claws on on the horizontal kind of tree over the stream, and then you can see that one on the other side of the tree as well, that kind of overturned stump. She loves scratching her claws, sharpening her claws on that one as well. And then this rock space right out in front of the glass is a really great place that she hangs out a lot of the time because it is actually heated and cooled through water that runs underneath the rock. So in the summer, if it's really hot, she really can't stand even hanging out in the cool grass, she can come over here and there's actually some chilled water running through the rock.
I knew it was heated, but I didn't realize it was also cooled. So that's really interesting.
Yep. Again, we spoil our animals. Give her whatever she wants. Yeah, I think that's some of the big stuff. There's plenty of kind of hiding space. The honeysuckle bushes are kind of strategically placed because we want to make sure that if she is ever in kind of a mood where she doesn't want to see the public or she doesn't want the public to see her, even though we want everyone to see her, that's fine. She's going to be able to kind of disappear for a little bit so she can kind of feel like not everyone's staring at her all the time. So her comfort, her stress level is always at the top of our minds. So I would say she's making use of that by hanging out with her right now.
So our friends that just joined, Todd, hello, I see you. Frances is behind this patch of bamboo right now. So you can just imagine. She's there. But yeah, so I see a couple more questions about, things in the exhibit. Where do you normally feed her, Melissa?
So again, all over the place. We never have like one set place that we're going to feed her. So sometimes we don't give her food in the morning at all. Sometimes we give her a bunch of food. Sometimes we'll put it all in one giant pile. Sometimes we'll do like handful by handful and scatter all over the place. So she never knows exactly where the food is going to be. She's going to come out and have to kind of walk around and use her nose and find it. Because it's so easy. Especially for predators, if they're used to kind of knowing where the food is going to be, they like completely forget that they have senses, right? So you could, if a cat is like fed food in the same spot every single day, you could let them out. They're going to run to that spot, and then they're going to be so confused when the food isn't there. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, I guess I didn't get fed today. But by not making them kind of depend on that, they're gonna have to come out, they're gonna have to use their nose and sniff it out, because they do have a good sense of smell. So they're gonna have to find their food every single day, every single time we put food out there. So we'll put food, or not, first thing in the morning, and then throughout the day we can also bring her inside, put out more food, more treats, and let her out again. So it just depends on the day what we want to do with her.
Cool. Let's see. So Larry is asking, are we open? And Larry, not right now. We're reopening to members on the 15th, so next Monday, I believe. And then we'll open to everyone else on the 18th. You will need to get an advance ticket on our website before you visit. And you can go to nashvillezoo.org/reopen to get that information. So is there anything else, Melissa, that you want to share about Francis or Huntley or the exhibit?
We miss you guys. It's been weird not having guests around, so our tigers definitely want to see you again, and I know you want to see them. But yeah, this is a fantastic exhibit. I love watching it get built up before we opened last year. The viewing building itself is magnificent. I have never seen the educational content and the graphics that our amazing team has put into this space. I've never seen that level of detail and care and precision and just beautiful education.
And there's
anywhere
so much
else.
information.
Yeah, you could spend so much time looking at all the fantastic information that we have on these walls, really telling a story about tigers and everything that they're facing in the wild. So it's even if you come here, even if you don't see the tiger, there's so much to experience just in this one building.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you guys for joining us and meeting myself and Melissa and Francis, who went and hid for the last minute of it. We're looking forward to seeing you guys. Again, just like Kelsey said, on the 15th, we're open to members, and then on the 18th, we're open to the rest of the general public with timed tickets that you'll have to buy in advance. But we are so looking forward to seeing you, and we hope that you guys have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, tune in the rest of the week with us. Jawnie and I will be live on Instagram tomorrow at 11 with the country music band Parmalee, actually. And we'll be back on Facebook on Thursday with a very, very exciting surprise.
Surprise guests are amazing.
So, I cannot emphasize that enough. All right, so we'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.